Good morning, students. So yesterday we've started with fifth module and we've seen about digital payment systems. And yesterday we discussed about this idea of digital cash, which a payer, basically the consumer, can provide digital money for every purchase that he make from a payee who is the merchant. So in order to have digital cash, which is a stored value that can be stored in the user's computer, consumer's computer, so it has to be actually obtained from a bank or a financial institution. So in order to obtain digital cash prior to any transaction, both the payer and the payee need to have an account with the bank. Okay, so after that they will be filling up the application, they'll be providing identity proof, after which, after all authentication is done, they will be, after the process is complete, they will be provided with the digital cash. This digital money gets stored in the uh, consumer's wallet, that is stored in the consumer's computer, which is using to transact for goods and services. For all transactions is going to use any particular device. If it's going to use the digital wallet, is going to be stored in that particular device, and inside the wallet will be storing both the personal information as well as the monetary information. So the digital cash that is obtained from the bank is getting stored in the e-wallet of the payer, and similar, the payee also will be having a digital wallet on his machine, and as and when a transaction happens, digital cash is going to be transferred from the digital wallet of the payer to the wallet of the payee. Okay, ultimately when the payee receives digital cash, it has to be deposited as actual money into the account which the merchant is having with the bank. So once, upon receiving the digital cash, the payee will be informing the bank regarding the digital cash and will be getting converted to actual money, and that will be deposited onto the payee's bank account. Okay, so that was the normal course of transaction which we learned yesterday. Today we'll see more about e-wallet. So what is e-wallet? We know both the parties that need to do a digital payment, digital transaction, need to have, when they are transacting using digital cash, they require this particular entity called e-wallet to be stored in their devices. So e-wallet is an electronic wallet. It is any device, or it can be a software which allows the user to store, manipulate and pay with various type of payment instruments such as electronic cash, that is your digital cash, credit card, etc. So normal as your wallet that you physically carry, that wallet, inside that wallet you will be storing your personal ID proofs as well as your monetary information related cards like debit card, credit card, all those things you'll be storing. Okay, so likewise then your cash also you'll be storing inside a physical wallet. So likewise a digital wallet can also hold your personal identification proofs as well as your monetary related details. So this makes it unnecessary to retype credit card numbers and addresses each time the purchase is made. So once you have an e-wallet and you store all these details inside the e-wallet, for every time when you make a purchase, when you make a transaction, there is no need to retype all those things. Say for example, your personal information that is stored inside the e-wallet, your address, shipping address, your phone number, all those details, your name, phone number, everything. Once it enters into the wallet, for every transaction you need not retype it again. Okay, likewise if you're going to transact with a credit card, each time you need not type the credit card number. It is stored inside the e-wallet, so automatically it can be taken from the wallet. You need to make a choice, only the choice, which mode of payment you're going to use. So once you select that, automatically your details will go from the electronic wallet, so you need not retype for every transaction that you make. So most e-wallet programs run on the user's personal computer. Now they are integrated into a variety of devices like cell phones and other personal devices. So whatever digital devices you're going to use in order for an e-commerce transaction, you can have the facility of an e-wallet to be created in that particular device. Okay, that will facilitate you to do digital payments. Now, why we need e-wallet? So for frequent online shoppers, it becomes hassle-free to fill out forms with same information every time you purchase. So this is one main advantage of an e-wallet. Once the details go into the wallet, each time you need not re-enter. Similar as for every shop you carry a physical wallet, for every purchase you make, you just simply give out your card that goes to be swiped in the machine there at the bill counter, and automatically you have your amount getting debited from your account. So likewise, for every purchase you make, your details once entered into the e-wallet, it will be automatically retrieved from the e-wallet. Okay, so you need not retype your personal details as well as the monetary details. This will be automatically taken from the e-wallet once it is stored inside the wallet. So that is a convenience. It provides a lot of convenience to the users, an e-wallet. Need for a digital wallet. Why we need a digital wallet? So your normal wallet becomes very bulky, a physical wallet, because you have many cards kept inside. You have a couple of credit cards. You may be having a debit card, two or more debit cards. You may be having a metro card. If you're a regular traveler on metro, that is one other plastic card that you can carry. Then you will be having your PAN card. You'll be having your Aadhaar, your voter's ID, driving license. So then actual paper cash, the cash that you carry. So all those things will make your wallet very bulky, very difficult to carry. So finding items is time consuming. So if you've got a lot of cards, when you're going to make a payment, you got to do a lot of search in the wallet. You got to have a certain time required to have the correct card taken out from your wallet, because your wallet is full. Okay, so managing multiple monetary and identification implements is not easy. Just as I told, if you have got multiple cards, if you've got debit cards, two or three debit cards from different banks, or from the same bank itself, if from different branches you've taken, so you've got two or three ATM cards, so it's very difficult to handle all those. And then your monetary identification proofs like your driving license, Aadhaar, voter's ID, your PAN card, etc. So it's like it's very difficult to manage all these together. Once you want to have a particular card taken from your bulky wallet, it's very difficult to take out. Okay, so that is difficulty in managing a physical wallet is more, rather than how can we manage both these information, both your identification related information and your monetary information in a e-wallet. So the management of an e-wallet is much more easier than a physical wallet. Physical wallet is very difficult to manage all these things together. Then reducing the chance of theft. When you physically carry your wallet, at any point of time you are in a rush, you are in a street wherein there is a huge rush of people out there, then there is every chance that your wallet can be taken by another person. So there is every chance of theft in the case of a physical wallet, or in the case of e-wallet there is no point in theft. Then what are the different ways to create a digital e-wallet? So if you want to have an e-wallet, they can be stored in your physical device. What are the different steps to have it? Okay, so first, if you want to have a digital wallet in which you can store your digital cash as well as your identification details, and you can use the same for every transaction that you make, you need to have the application for the same downloaded. So you got to download the application. For example, Paytm, PayUmoney, State Bank Buddy, ICICI Pockets. These are examples of e-wallets. Okay, so you can make for the corresponding what type of e-wallet, which financial institution's e-wallet you require. That financial institution will be providing you with a form that you need to have the form downloaded and filled up. Okay, then you fill in the details. You got to set a pin for the wallet, and you got to link the cards to the wallet. So for the particular for the particular wallet, you need to link your cards. All your identity related cards you got to link. All your monetary related cards also you got to link. So all your ID proof have to be linked. All your cards, credit, debit cards, everything has to be linked onto the digital wallet. So you got to link the cards. So once the wallet is created and all your cards are being linked to the wallet, you are ready to make the payment. So components of a digital wallet. What are the components of a digital wallet? So it has got a software and information component. It has got two components. Any digital wallet has got two components. The first one is a software component and second one is an information component. So the software provides security and encryption for personal information and for actual transaction. So this is the software part will provide proper security for all your credentials. both your personal credentials and your transaction related monetary details, financial credentials. Okay, so it's providing security for both your personal information as well as your money related, payment related information. Okay, so we have got two types of softwares that does these things for you. One is you require a software at the client side and you require a software at the server side. When you're going to have an e-commerce transaction to be made, any shopping to be done, you require a security mechanism for the wallet at the consumer side and a security mechanism provided by an e-wallet software at the merchant side or the server side. So you require an e-wallet software to secure your transactions, to protect your personal information as well as your payment information, both at the consumer side and also at the merchant side. So software component of e-wallet protects both the client as well as the server. Now we have the second component, which is the information component. So information component is basically a database. As the name stores, it stores a lot of information. The information component is responsible for storing the information that you supply, that you need to have stored inside a wallet. So all these are basically two categories of information goes into the information component. One is your personal information and second is your payment related monetary information. So we have personal information include your shipping address, billing address. Then we have the payment related, the payment methods, credit card numbers, expiry dates, security numbers and other information. So these the information component of e-wallet will be storing all your information that needs to go inside a e-wallet. E-wallet has to store both personal information and payment information. So all these information that you provide are getting stored inside the information component of e-wallet. So e-wallet has got two main components. One is the software component that tries to provide security for your transactions and for all information that you store inside the e-wallet, and the information component manages all information that is stored inside the e-wallet. So this is the two types of e-wallets we need. One at the client side we need and second at the server side. So we have two types of electronic e-wallets. One is a server side wallet and second is the client side electronic wallet. So server side electronic wallet is one which is required at the merchant side in order to have all the digital money that is received after every transaction to be stored. So server side electronic wallet stores a customer information on the remote server belonging to a particular merchant or wallet publisher. So whatever details that is shared by a consumer regarding a purchase to be made, that is going to be stored in the server side wallet of the merchant. Then we have the client side electronic wallet. A client side electronic wallet stores consumer information on his or her computer. So whatever details we're going to store in the consumer's machine on the consumer side, that is basically stored in the client side e-wallet. Okay, so the merchant side also we require an e-wallet, and the consumer side also we require an e-wallet. Okay, what is the basic details that go inside a client e-wallet is all your personal information and payment related information that is stored inside the e-wallet of the client side, and whatever details that we transfer from a client e-wallet that gets stored inside a server side e-wallet, and ultimately after the transaction is complete, the digital cash also goes into the server side e-wallet. So many of the early electronic wallet were client-side wallet that requires the user to download the wallet software. So initially, for every transaction, in the early stages, the client-side wallets need to be downloaded for every transaction. So before the transaction, you need to download the particular wallet software onto your machine, and then only you have to proceed with the transaction. Now, what are the technologies which are used for digital payments? So in order to make digital payments, we have seen the method. What is the basic method that permits you to do a digital payment? Okay, what are the procedures to be followed when you transact digital money? Okay, what are the prerequisites you need to have in order to make a digital payment? Okay, so the main fundamental component you require is an e-wallet. So I've seen what is the basic advantage of an e-wallet, what is the basic purpose of an e-wallet. Okay, and where exactly we require e-wallets, what are the different types of e-wallets. All these things we have discussed so far. Now we move on to the communication or the technology that basically permits digital cash payments. So the first one is secure communication medium. So we need technology for secure communication medium to provide you with a secure communication medium. So the technologies that provide you with secure communication medium, one is a near field communication or NFC. Okay, these are chips that are already appearing in your smartphone which provide you very close range, low power, easy to set up point-to-point communication. As the name indicates, near field in sense you can communicate with devices only within a certain distance. Okay, near field, the devices that we need to connect, we need to communicate, all those devices, one device need to connect with second device. It means that if you're using a near field communication technology, then all those devices with which your device need to communicate should be within a certain distance, a span of certain distance. So it should be in a certain field. The distance should not be very large. It should be a short distance. Now, near field communication acts as a communication medium for exchanging monetary as well as identification information such as credit card numbers and receipts and other devices. So it can be used to communicate. NFC, near field technology, can be used to share certain details like your monetary related information, your personal information. Everything can be shared from one device to another, but the only requirement is that the two devices should not be very far apart. It should be within a short range. It uses the technology of near field communication. It's a type of wireless communication. Okay, the field should be, the size of the field should be minimum. The devices which are going to communicate should not be very far apart. It should be in a certain near field. By leveraging on NFC, users can pay for everything and anything simply by tapping on their phone to a compatible point of sale terminal and entering their secret PIN. Similar to your debit card payment, you go with a debit card, okay, and you provide the debit card at the point of sale at the terminal. The people at the counter will be swiping the card. You will be providing your ATM PIN and then your transaction is complete. Similar, you can use a smartphone device in which you have an NFC chip installed. You tap the phone, you make the purchase, you type in some PIN that is required, you type in that and your communication or transaction is complete. So every transaction can be made by simply tapping on your phone which has got an NFC chip inside. So you can communicate with another device which is in a very close near field. Just by tapping your phone, you can send details from your phone to the other device. So some examples of digital wallets are MSN wallet and Google's checkout. So these are examples of wallets that are using NFCs. Now, second technology is fast secure communication and secure tamper-proof storage. So rather than NFC, this is another type of communication technology that permits you for doing digital cash payments. So first one is fast secure authentication and second one is secure tamper-proof storage. So as the name indicates, the communication goes very fast in a secure way and it's used with the help of plastic cards. Tamper-proof in sense, it's going to be something made of plastic, the plastic cards that you normally carry, and it will be storing some value. That is why it's called secure tamper-proof storage. Okay. So secure programmable chips in cell phones which will allow the cell phones to securely both digital cash and the phone owner's monitoring identification implements. So you have certain programmable chips which are placed inside your cell phones and these chips will be storing both the information that you require for digital cash payment. One is your payment related, second is your personal information. So both your monetary information and your personal information will be stored inside a programmable chip that is going to be placed inside your smartphone. Now this assumes that the cell phone's owner requires a password. So in order to protect these details that go inside the chip, you need to have a secure password. Your details need to be protected via a strong password. Now the chip will ensure that thieves will be unable to access the digital wallet embedded in the stolen phone. So you have the digital wallet content, that is basically the personal information as well as the payment information, which is basically stored inside an electronic wallet that is going to be embedded inside a chip A chip is going to be stored inside your smartphone. Okay, and the chip and the details is going to be protected by a strong password. So even if the phone is got by any other third person, he won't be able to access the wallet because it's protected by a strong password. Now biometric scanners can also be used to protect the details. So either you can use a good password or you can use biometric methods in order to protect the monetary as well as the personal information that is stored inside the digital wallet. Now we have got different types of payment models. So we learned two types of technology that basically supports digital cash payments. Now we're moving on to the types of payment models that can be used for digital payment. So one is point of sale transaction. Second is peer-to-peer cash exchange. So we've got two types. One is point-to-point sale transaction and second one is peer-to-peer cash exchange. Now what is point of sale? As the name indicates, the payment has to be made at the counter, at the cash counter, at the point of sale. Okay, so NFC compatible reader pad can be deployed in the retail store. So on the retail store, in order to facilitate a point of sale transaction, you require a near field communication compatible reader pad that has to be deployed at the retail store. Now when a payment is required, the consumers will place their cell phone over this particular reader pad, okay, or anywhere near, and all valid payment options will be on the display. So when you place your phone, in that phone you have your digital wallet. Okay, so once that is played on the reader pad, all payment options that are available for you inside with the help of your electronic wallet, that will be displayed. Okay, so then user, once the payment modes are displayed, the user can select the appropriate payment option. Then the device will transmit the payment request to the corresponding bank. If I'm using a credit card, the request will straight away go to the issuer bank. If I'm using a debit card, from which bank's debit card I'm going to transact, the information will be provided to that particular bank. So the request will go to that particular bank. The consumer can then provide any necessary signature, digital signature on the digital signature pad that is located next to the reader pad. So next to the reader pad, you will have a digital signature pad wherein you can provide with your digital signature. And once the transaction is verified and complete, the receipt is automatically sent to the consumer's cell phone and it is stored there for future reference. So this is how we have a point of sale transaction happening. So you require two things here. One is an NFC compatible reader pad, and next to that you need to have a digital signature pad. So any particular user who is going to perform a point of sale transaction will be having his digital wallet on his phone and will be bringing this phone near to the reader pad or placing it onto the reader pad. Now once that is done, the contents of his electronic wallet, the different payment options available, that will be displayed on the screen, from wherein the user can select any of the payment option. Once a particular payment option is selected by the consumer, depending upon what payment option is choosing, whether be credit card, whether be debit card, the corresponding request goes to the corresponding bank, and you can provide the necessary digital signature meantime on the digital signature pad that is located next to the reader. And once the authentication is complete and every detail, that payment related detail you have provided is verified, then the transaction will be proceeded and money will be taken, and you will be having a receipt. You as a consumer will be having a receipt that will be provided onto your phone, that will be coming onto your phone, and that will be stored there for future reference. So this is how a point of sale transaction can happen. Now we're going to see the second type of payment model, which is peer-to-peer cash exchange. Okay, so the first payment model we've already seen. The second payment model is peer-to-peer cash exchange. So using the phone's NFC capability together with an EC peer-to-peer cash application. So a peer-to-peer cash exchange combines near-field communication capability together with a peer-to-peer cash application. So using this application, the payer can enter how much cash he needs to send to the other person. So how much amount we need for the transaction to complete, or how much amount we need to transfer to the other person, that we can specify. So the exact amount will be going to the other person. So the payer then taps the cell phone of the payee and the cash is transferred instantly using near field communication. So you require both the phones to be in the near field, okay, some distance, only a very small distance apart. So once you have the payer typing the exact amount that he wants to transfer to the payee, he will be tapping the payee's phone. So upon tapping the payee's phone, the amount will be transferred instantly from the payer's wallet to the payee's wallet. Okay, both the phones will be having electronic wallets stored inside. So once the amount, exact amount is entered by the payer on his phone, through his phone, then he will be tapping the payee's phone so that the payee's phone will be receiving the exact amount. The recipient is informed of the exact amount transferred. So the recipient will get a message about the transfer that has been made. So this is basically using two technologies together, the technology of cash exchange and NFC. Now, how to support cash transfer? What are the different steps we require in order to support this type of a cash transfer? So we need to place the cash in the digital wallet. That is first thing. You need to have, for every near field communication to happen, you need to have both the phones, both the devices to be in a near field, and both the devices should have the digital wallet stored inside. Okay, so inside the digital wallet we need to have money to be stored. Okay, so what are the different means wherein you can support a cash transfer by placing cash inside the digital wallet? So topping up cash on the device is at specific top-up machines which are integrated with existing automatic teller machines. So you can actually recharge your e-wallet at certain ATMs wherein these devices are also getting attached. So you can have top-up machines for e-wallet stored in some of the ATM centers wherein along with the ATM machine you have this top-up device also getting set up, the top-up for e-wallet. So logging by logging into the bank's online portal and transferring cash to the phone. Second method, so one method is through ATM. Once provided on the ATM center, you have a device top-up machine also getting installed for topping up the amount onto your phone. And the second method is you can log on to the corresponding bank's website. You can transfer. Once you have an account with a particular bank and you've got sufficient balance, you can transfer some of the amount to your e-wallet on your phone. So transferring that cash to a retailer or another digital wallet by using NFC. So you can transfer cash. So in order to transfer cash from one e-wallet to another, your e-wallet should be ready for transacting with sufficient fund. So this sufficient funds can be taken either by topping it up at an ATM center which possesses a particular type of top-up machine. And second is you can directly log on to the bank's website wherein you have an account with, and you can transfer certain amount of money that you require to transact onto your digital wallet on your phone. So those are the two methods wherein you can have sufficient cash on your phone to perform digital payments. Then online stored value systems. So what are online stored value systems? So online, as we have already seen the different types of payment systems we have seen already. Cash, checking payment, accumulating balance, then stored value systems, all these things we have learned. Okay, checking transfer, credit card. So in that we have learned, we have an idea on what is a stored value card or stored value system. You basically transact against some account balance or a stored value. So online stored value systems allow the consumers to make instant payments to various merchants or other individuals on the value that they have stored on an online account. So you should have an online account. You should have a sufficient balance in an account. With that particular balance, you can settle all your transactions. You can transfer money to one person to other person. Okay, you can do transactions with the particular stored value. So stored value is nothing but an account balance that is residing with you, and against that particular balance, you're going to do all the transactions. Example, PayPal. So PayPal will enable its individuals and businesses with email accounts to make and receive payments up to specified limit. So PayPal will help the users to pay off to do certain cash payments. With the help of PayPal, we can make cash payments, and that too up to only a certain specified limit. So these cash payments should fall within the specified limit that is specified by PayPal. So PayPal will help us to do cash transfers and payments up to certain specified limits. So PayPal works by linking the user's online account with a credit, debit or checking account that he or she currently possesses. So PayPal will link any of our account. We need to have, see, for Google Pay, we need to link any of our account to Google Pay. Then only we can use Google Pay. Okay, so Google Pay and PayPal will link our PayPal account to any of our online bank accounts which is having a sufficient balance out there. And once we have a sufficient balance, there, we can use PayPal service in order to make payments. Okay, so everything requires, for every type of transaction, digital transaction with stored value, you require an online account with the bank, and you need to maintain a sufficient balance also out there. Okay, so you need to link. If you're using PayPal account, you will be creating a PayPal account, and in PayPal account you need to link your bank account. Okay, and that particular account that you link should have a balance there. Then only you can use PayPal service to make your transactions. That means we need to establish a PayPal account by specifying a credit, debit or checking account we wish to have charged or paid when conducting online transaction. So whenever we create a PayPal account, we are asked for either a credit card number, a debit card number, account number, whatever it is. What is the stored value that we're going to associate with the PayPal account? That is required. So whenever we make a transaction through PayPal, your bills will be your amount will be debited from the corresponding account or corresponding credit card. It will be charged against the corresponding credit card, debit card or your online account. So every payment system like PayPal or Google Pay will require your Google Pay account or PayPal account to be linked with any of these means. Either your credit card number need to be linked, either your debit card number need to be linked, or account number need to be linked. Okay, so once that link is being done correctly and you have a valid PayPal account, you can do all your transactions with PayPal, and all your transactions, the amount will be debited from the corresponding account that you have linked with PayPal. So when we make a payment using PayPal, we email the payment to the merchant's PayPal account. So the payment details will be mailed to the merchant's PayPal account. Then the PayPal transfers the amount from our credit or checking account to the merchant's bank account. So both Google Pay as well as PayPal, all these requires that both users need to have the accounts. For PayPal, once consumer is using a PayPal, the merchant also should have a PayPal account. Likewise, Google Pay I'm using. If I want to transfer some money to my friend, then the friend also should be using a Google Pay facility. Then only I can transfer fund through Google Pay. So likewise, whenever I make a payment through PayPal, then the merchant's PayPal account will be notified regarding the payment, and then money will be going from my PayPal, which account I've linked with PayPal. Money will be taken from that particular account and it will be deposited onto the merchant's account. Now, beauty of PayPal is that no personal credit information has to be shared among users, and the service can be used by individuals to pay one another even in small amounts. So, two main advantages of using PayPal is that you need not share any of your personal information. Your personal details need not be shared. And again, it can be used for any sort of payments, whether be big payment, whether be small payments. Very small payments also you can do with PayPal. So, that is the beauty of PayPal. You can keep your personal information hidden. You need not disclose your personal information, and second one, you can do both small and bigger payments with PayPal. Now, stored value systems are a form of electronic payment technology. They coexist with credit and debit technology and principally target low value transactions, mostly suited for small transactions, not for very big transactions. Now, online stored value systems have got very low transaction amount. So this is another highlight. It's suitable for both bigger and smaller, but mostly used for small transactions, and it can be used very frequently because the transaction charge is very low. Now, smart cards are another kind of stored value system. So another type of stored value system is smart card. So that is based on credit card sized plastic card, which is embedded, in which chips are embedded, and it will be storing your personal information and can be used to support mobile, wireless, e-commerce payments. So the value can be withdrawn at any time and can be spent at a later date. So that is the smart card. So it is any kind of stored value based credit card size plastic card. So it is a credit card size plastic card. It will be having a chip. On the chip will be stored your account information, your personal information, all those things. So you'll be having your personal information that is embedded into the chip inside the particular card, and it can be used for wireless communication related payments. Okay, so it can be, there is no need for any point of contact. You need not actually that is swipe the card through any particular reader or so. So it is a contactless card, okay, a plastic card that you normally carry. It will be having a chip in which every detail gets stored, and you can use this card for transaction. Okay, you can use the card at any point of time, and the value can be withdrawn at any time and can be spent at a later date. So you can charge this card, and the money can be stored inside the card, and at any point of time you want to do a transaction, you can use that stored value. So this is a plastic card that gets associated with the stored value, that is nothing but certain amount of money that remains stored inside your plastic card, and you can use that particular card for transaction at any point of time. So once you charge it and keep it, it remains, that particular amount remains there in your card, and you can use it at a later point of time. So that is a smart card. So applications of stored value cards we have. So it is a smart card with a microchip, or a plastic card with a magnetic strip which registers the accounting balance. Now they are not used for home PCs to purchase goods, but can be used to pay generally small ticket items by waving the card at the reader or passing through reader. So stored value cards, like a certain type of cards, we can use it at the card readers, to swipe it through the card readers and take the transaction is getting debited. The amount will be debited from the corresponding account that you have linked with the card. So you can have different types of cards. Some sort of cards are basically contactless, which you can just transact just by keeping it at a certain field of view, and certain others should definitely go through a reader. So we have different types of cards. We'll be seeing it later on. So as we see, a smart stored value card is a smart card with a microchip or a plastic card with a magnetic strip which registers the accounting balance. So the magnetic strip is storing your accounting balance, and they are not used for purchasing goods from home. They have to be used at the online stores, because they have to go inside a reader. So the difference between an SVC and a prepaid debit card is that in prepaid, debit cards are usually issued in the name of the cardholder, wherein the stored value card doesn't hold any personal details. Okay, it's anonymous, as the case of gift card. If you have a gift card, you have got certain value associated with the gift card, and you got to use that particular gift card. You can use it for that particular value that is charged against that card. If I take a gift card for 3,000 rupees, I can purchase for 3,000. Okay, so you have a stored value within, and up to that particular amount you can transact using that gift card. So that doesn't have any personal name or personal information associated. I give as gift. So the person who is receiving the gift card, the card won't be having any name within. Okay, it is just a gift card, wherein a debit card will be storing all your personal information. So that is the basic difference between a stored value card. It will be in the case of a stored value card, the stored value is of primary importance, wherein in the case of a debit card, your personal information, your card number, your name, everything is very important. Okay, so the highlight goes in this. So the main difference goes in this highlight. One is, in the case of stored value card, the amount becomes the highlight, the value that is stored is the highlight, and in the case of debit card, the information that is stored in the debit card also is very important. So stored value cards are prepaid money cards and may be disposed when the value is used, or the card may be topped up. So stored value card, either you can actually dispose the card once its value is over, once the charge is finished. You have charged for so and so amount, you've made the purchase for the full amount. Either you can discard the card, or you can keep the card, and again you can top up and do the transaction again. Okay, so that is the difference. So in the case of a stored value card, once the value is over, either you can discard the card or else you can top up the card. Okay, so we'll continue in the next class, and we'll stop it now, and thank you for your patient listening.